Hello, welcome to He's Hot But Something Is Off with me, just Joey T. I'm back. I am back from Taiwan. It is Tuesday the 29th that I'm recording this. And I want to start off with an apology because 2 weeks ago, I did a podcast that I took down about the Tahiti New Year's cruise Atlantis had summer recently announced. And I thought it was for this coming New Year's, like in 2 months' time. But it was for New Year's 2026, i.e. 14 months from now. And yeah, my bad. I got the dates so wrong. I never stopped to actually look at the actual dates. I just spaced and didn't read the dates, and I just gave completely false information, which is why I took that podcast down, because I didn't want people to listen to it and think that it was actually this coming New Year. So like, thank you for the people that caught it and added a comment to the YouTube channel, the YouTube comments for that video. So I was in Taiwan already, and I was just randomly scrolling through stuff, and I took it down on YouTube, and I also took it off of Spotify. Spotify is where I upload the podcast, and then Spotify distributes it to all the podcasting apps out there. So I removed them off the two places where I would have uploaded it. I look back at it and I was like, how did I get it so wrong? So like, I looked a little bit back at it. In one of the two emails, in the first paragraph, it says, as one of our most valuable alumni, having been on at least blah, 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 however many cruises, we're thrilled to invite you to be the first to book a new Tahiti cruise for New Year's 2025. So in my head, I interpreted that to mean New Year's 2025 means like 2024 going into 2025. Another paragraph below, there's the actual link to like for alumni to actually book it. And that link also says Tahiti 2025. So I think from that, I was confused. Oh, New Year's 2025 means this year, 2024, going into 2025. However, if I keep scrolling down, near the end of the email, right above the footer, is a graphic for that cruise, and it says December 28th, 2025 to January 6th, 2026. Just to explain where I got confused, but apologies, guys, I should have checked anyways. This is not an excuse. So I rechecked that. And the thing is, also, apparently I heard, well, at least a couple of the comments had mentioned that cruise is sold out. And for the three of you, maybe one of the three of you out there might have actually listened to that podcast that's now taken down. And one of the things I was worried about was, because I didn't think at that point it was going to sell out at all. I thought like, okay, it's a luxury cruise. You know, not everyone has that kind of money. And, you know, like for New Year's, there are a lot of different options for things to do and types of vacations to go on to ring in the New Year's. Like every city in the world has something for New Year's. So I thought like the demand would not be that high, but apparently it sold out. So there you go. Prove me wrong. So because of those two things, I'm not going to just edit out the wrong parts and repost it, because if it is sold out, then it's kind of irrelevant to any of that information. Like my opinions on it was kind of really about the consumer advice, which if it is sold out or nearly sold out, it doesn't matter. But anyways, lesson learned, next time I talk about any new upcoming cruise, I will triple check the dates. And that's a nice segue into just yesterday or this morning, Atlantis announced 2 Mediterranean cruises. And I'm going to triple check the dates right now, because I'm not going to make the motherfucking same mistake again. I got this email like less than 24 hours ago. There are 2 Mediterranean European cruises coming up in 2025. So there's a Barcelona to Lisbon cruise, July of 2025. Then there's one in August of 2025 that is the Greek Isles, Istanbul, and the pyramids. This email only went out to alumni. It's another kind of pre-sale for alumni. I haven't dug into any details about either of these 2 cruises yet. So I'm going to hold off until I'm able to do my research with the correct facts this time. And then sometime in November, I will do a podcast episode talking about these 2 cruises. Hopefully, maybe around the same time that, I don't know exactly when they're going to release it to general sale, But for right now, my gut feeling is the med cruises tend to sell out. So, but people usually like going to Europe during the summer, and usually the Atlantis cruises in Europe in the summer, they go to a lot of ports that people want to visit. Those are kind of more sightseeing cruises. And, just at a glance, it seems like these two cruises would likely be ones that a lot of people would be interested in. It's on the Virgin ship, so it's not going to be like a luxury premium experience. What I mean, it's not going to be like it's super expensive like the Oceania cruises. That's like a luxury cruise line. If you are an alumni and you were interested in doing a Mediterranean cruise with Atlantis and you did get the email, I would say, go look into it. But I will do a podcast episode specifically about these two cruises coming up in November once I've had a chance to sit down and research them a little bit for all of you. Cool. So I want to get that out of the way. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about my trip to Taiwan. So I went to Taipei for about like a week and a half or so for Pride. So Pride in Taiwan was in Taipei this past weekend. And I got there about a week early. I got there the Saturday before to do a bunch of collabs. And I vlogged the whole trip, just like I vlogged the New York trip. And that full vlog for New York and for Taipei, I'm saving it for my Patreon. And I think I'll probably do a short abbreviated version of it on YouTube somewhere. One of the things I'm trying to figure out is, so I've got just Joey T, which is my YouTube channel, but it's also just my personal Instagram. And people know me, especially for the YouTube channel, under that handle for like the cruise stuff. But then I also got Kian, which is like my alt for OnlyFans and stuff. But that's also where I want to start posting like personal vlogs, and that's where I might want to do like Instagram reels and things like that. So I'm just trying to figure out like how to manage having these two personas. And like, for example, these vlogs should I post it on the Just Joey T YouTube channel, even though I kind of wanted to be focused on cruise specific things and just cruise content and party content. Even though the Just Joey T YouTube channel started many years ago as just my personal vlogs. Or should I post it on YouTube as Kian? Or should I just not even use YouTube for that at all? Post it on Instagram or TikTok? So I'm trying to figure out all of that. But definitely the full vlogs for when I travel will be on Patreon. And I'm actually very excited to be back home. And I don't have any travel planned until Christmas and New Year's. So I've got a good like 2 months here at home. And I've got a lot of things I want to do. Last week, you heard me announce to you that I'm starting a skincare company. We're at the pre-launch. I want to do a bunch of work to do like the actual public launch for later in November. I'm still doing the content creation for OnlyFans and things like that. I want to do this Patreon. So like, there's a lot of stuff I want to do. And not that I was anxious to get home, but I was looking forward to like, okay, did a bunch of collabs, got a ton of content in Taipei, went to a couple parties, fine. Now that I'm home, I can get back on my regular diet, my regular gym routine, but also just like put my head down and work on all of these things. I'm actually like kind of excited to be back home. At Taipei though, I will talk a little bit about it. The vlog is gonna have more, but there was one misadventure in Taipei that I want to talk about. So I booked 2 separate Airbnbs because I was thinking, when you're shooting content, any kind of content, it doesn't have to be for OnlyFans. It could be for like other things as well. It doesn't have to be like NSFW stuff. It's nice when you have a change of a background. If you're going to film a whole bunch of videos, if you're going to film a whole bunch of anything, it doesn't always look great when it looks like you're in the same place or same environment, have the same background all the time. So I was thinking, let's book 2 separate Airbnbs. It's not more expensive. That way I can have like a change of scenery for all the different videos. So the first one was fine, no issues, just some collabs there. And then it was Wednesday of last week when I was supposed to go from one Airbnb to the other one. Okay. The first problem is that I basically had 5 hours between checking out of the first Airbnb that I had to be out of by 11 a.m. and the second Airbnb I couldn't check into until 4 p.m. So it's a 5 hour stretch that I basically was homeless for 5 hours. And I take so much time to plan every trip that it's kind of ridiculous because I researched everything to the nth degree. This was one of those times where I overlooked this detail. So it was like a couple of days, it was like Sunday or Monday, where I realized, I have a bunch of time to kill. And my plan B for that was to hang out at the train station that was kind of sort of nearby, the Taipei main station. And we have this basically giant atrium courtyard, indoor courtyard atrium area where people it's such a large space. People just like sit down and hang out and just do whatever. So I have a little bit of that in the vlog. So I just like did that. And that part actually worked out really well. So I did have like X hours to kill. And the plan was to just like go there. I had like my small carry-on suitcase and my backpack with me. I didn't have a lot of luggage. And there was McDonald's there. I ate some McDonald's. I had my iPad with me, and I just like was watching videos. And like the time just flew away. It was completely fine. So that very minor problem, honestly. Not a problem at all. And I killed enough time to check into the second place. The actual problem that came up at the last minute was when I woke up Wednesday morning, I was still in bed. But so what I do, maybe some of you would do this as well. When I crawl into bed at night, turn off all the lights, I'm on my phone for 15, 30 minutes, depending on how sleepy I am. Just reading whatever, scrolling through whatever. Not social media. It'll be like about cars or something about tech or something about news. It's not usually scrolling on Instagram or Twitter or anything like that. And I do the same thing in the morning. I wake up. The first thing I do is not turn the lights on, get out of bed, reach for my phone, be on the phone for 10, 20, 30 minutes, just doing whatever. So I was still in bed Wednesday morning at like 7:30 a.m., 8 a.m. Picked up my phone, saw an email from the host of the second Airbnb I was supposed to check into later that day. And then they said our pipe had burst. And basically there's water damage everywhere, and like the place is like water damage. Like I can't check in there. But in the next paragraph, the host says, but we have this other property that has brand new furniture and brand new appliances that you could that we could offer you to go to instead. But that was all the details that they sent. They didn't send any photos. They didn't give me a list of the amenities. Because every apartment or every Airbnb has different amenities, and you really have to check because it really varies. And specifically, the host billed it as an upgrade to what I originally booked. So I replied back and said, I asked for two things. Send photos and send me the list of the amenities. And she replied back and like said something, blah, blah, blah. Like something semi-unrelated. And I asked again, like, please send me the photos. I need to have some idea what this place looks like. And then I also said, like, does this place have a washer and dryer and a full kitchen? Because the only reason, like the big reason to book an Airbnb is because it's like a regular house is I can cook meals, which with my IBS is pretty important. And then I had planned to do laundry at the Airbnb because that way on a long trip, I don't have to pack like a million pairs of underwear and socks and clothes or whatever. I can pack less, just wash my clothes and do laundry. So I didn't pack like a full, I didn't pack like one pair of underwear for every day that I was there, like I would usually do on a shorter trip or if I didn't have access to laundry, for example, right? So the kitchen and a washer dryer were the two things. Those are big reasons that I booked that original Airbnb, especially the washer dryer part, which not a lot of apartments have. Then we replied back, and basically they sent photos, and literally the bathrooms looked like it was a place out of the 70s. Like it was nowhere. It was a big downgrade. Like I can't. The fact that they would even call this place an upgrade that made me angry. It was in a location that was like a completely different neighborhood, not like super, super far, but it was like a good 7 to 8 kilometers away from where I was supposed to be. When you pick a hotel or an Airbnb, whatever, location matters in a city. So it was a completely different neighborhood. It was not close to where I wanted to go. It was definitely a downgrade. The bathrooms literally looked like came from the 70s. Whereas the original place I booked had like a modern bathroom that looked like it was remodeled in like the last 5 or 10 years. And there was no washer or dryer, and they didn't even have Wi-Fi. So it was like I just got my full refund. So at least when it's like out of your control, like for whatever reason, the host couldn't provide the accommodations, at least you can get the full refund. But the thing about that is, and Airbnb advertises this thing they call air cover, which is like if there's some problem with the accommodations, you get a full refund, blah, blah, blah. Here's the thing. If you need to look for accommodations while you're in the middle of your trip at the last minute, and I was supposed to check in like later that day, I was like, I don't know, 7 or 8 hours away from check-in. At the last minute, do you know how expensive things can get for a hotel at the last minute? It's like if you have to book a flight at the last minute, like the prices are expensive because if you need a flight or a hotel in like 8 hours time, you're obviously desperate. Like you don't have any other options. Like you just have to pay whatever price is being charged. So the prices go up. Anyways, got my full refund. At least getting the refund was really easy. And then I start looking at hotels, like just actual hotels. I did have a look at other Airbnbs that were available, but none of them looked that good, to be honest. And I spent weeks looking for Airbnbs, you guys. So it was like a little disappointing, but I looked at like the 4 or 5 other Airbnbs that kind of met the minimum criteria in like a similar neighborhood and like had some of the amenities, but like none of them actually looked that good. And it was going to be like the same price. So what I ended up was booking a hotel, like a regular hotel. And one of my credit cards had some travel credit that hadn't been used yet. So I used that credit. So overall, I saved like $300 something like with the credit. So some silver lining. In a way, having that hotel was kind of like a blessing in disguise because the room itself was kind of small, but like it had a really nice bathroom. It was like a newer hotel. And the AC worked really well. There was like a nice TV. The bed was like comfy. Like it had everything I really needed in a hotel room. And I didn't need to take the elevator. It was just like on the ground floor, which to some people it was like, oh, you don't want like a ground floor, but like it wasn't facing the street. It was super quiet. Uber Eats people, because I didn't have a kitchen. I need to order all my food now. Uber Eats people, most of the time they could just like put the food right outside the door of my hotel room. If it was like a type of hotel where you need like a key card to get up the elevator and all that kind of stuff, that wouldn't have been possible. So yeah, in a way it was like a blessing in disguise a little bit. So that was the drama that happened that whole morning. That Wednesday morning I had to emergency book a different accommodations. And this is one of the reasons I don't want to be a landlord of any type. A few years ago, I thought it would be cute to buy a place. Not that I really quite had the means. Well, I could have had the means, technically, but it would not have been like a smart financial move. But it also would have been a smart move in other respects. Because I thought about buying a house in Palm Springs and doing short-term rentals. But whatever my friends and I have visited Palm Springs, we love the idea of just like booking a house that we can all stay in. We can all have meals together. We can all hang out together. Just have like our different bedrooms. I really like that idea and I love it. It's like, it'd be so great for me to be able to provide that to other people and also like have it be like an investment property and also generate some income from it. The thing I realize now is having owned my condo for about 4 years now and also seeing stuff like, well, this person's pipe burst and like, their apartment is, I don't know what state it's in. Maybe it's like destroyed. Maybe it's like, and you have to do insurance and all that kind of stuff. Being a landlord involves a lot of work. If something goes wrong, but houses, like a lot of things can go wrong in a house. Most of the time, most places you live in, nothing major goes wrong. That's most of the time. But there are times where like a pipe will break or like something is wrong with like the appliances, like appliances where the refrigerator and like the heating and, it doesn't last forever, right? Especially when you have when you have a rental, you get wear and tear, especially for a short-term rental, when you have people coming in and out all the time, there's going to be wear and tear on that place. That's going to be beyond a long-term rental, or if it was just like your own place that you live in yourself, because, when you have that many different people coming in and out all the time, like things are just going to get scuffed up. There's just more wear and tear, So yeah, stuff like this can happen. If I had tenants and if I owned a place to rent out and there are tenants in there and like a pipe burst, I would have to like, that would be like an emergency of sorts. And like, I would have to like kind of sort of drop everything else and like get things fixed. Like that's the type of bother I don't want. And I think I would rather invest my money, because a rental property is pretty much an investment. You're expecting the value of the place to go up over time, and you're also expecting for it to generate income from renting it out. So I think I would rather generate, as an investment, I think I would just rather have stocks. Honestly, if I was really, really attracted to real estate in terms of an investment, there are real estate related stocks or like REITs that I could invest in, for example. And for the income part of it, I think, I'd rather have dividends. There are a lot of dividend paying stocks. I'm much more of a just buy some stocks type of a person, because if an earthquake hits, or if a pipe bursts, or if there's like a tsunami or something, like your stocks will be fine. It's just one less thing to worry about. Obviously, when you invest in stocks, there are other risks that don't apply to like a house. But yeah, that's kind of a little bit my view on being a landlord. I don't think it's for me. Yeah, that was a little bit of misadventure that I experienced on the trip. And one of the things I talked about, it was a comment that I got from YouTube a couple of weeks ago. Someone asked about trip insurance or travel insurance. And from the podcast episode that I've taken down, in addition to talking about that Tahiti cruise, I answered 2 separate questions from the comments. One of them was about parking for the San Diego to Mexico cruise. That's actually actively going on right now. I have a couple of friends that are on it right now. And that advice is no longer valid because, they've already made their way there. But the other thing I talked about was talking about travel insurance. And I remember talking about, I gave like 10 minutes of advice on it, 5 or 10 minutes. But I specifically remember saying, that's actually a really good topic for its own podcast episode. But it's a little more complicated for me to really explain and give great advice on that would be applicable to most people just within a span of like 5 or 10 minutes. And especially after this like Airbnb mishap. But one of the things I was looking up that Wednesday morning was, does any of the travel insurance I have help in any way, shape, or form for this? And that's one of those things where like, hey, something goes wrong with your accommodations. That is one of those things where you might think, hey, do I have insurance for this? Is this something my insurance could help me out with? So given that also, that's something I want to do an episode on in the future. So yeah, there you go. There were other things that happened as well, but that was like the one kind of like big thing. And all the tiny little details I have to log on. And yeah, I want to get the Patreon launch. I want to start doing these vlogs. And I'm kind of excited for like a bunch of the stuff, because during the downtime that I had, I was thinking through like doing marketing differently for like the OnlyFans. I was eager to like start looking into running ad campaigns for the skincare line, and also like how I want to just like get the Patreon off the ground. So it's kind of exciting times for me, because back in like June, July, August, it was just a lot of like me working in the background on a lot of these things. And now getting into November, December, I can actually like launch these things. And we're so close to like probably launching this stuff that like, that's why I'm again so happy to be back. I did have a good time in Taipei, but it was like, I don't know. I did get a lot of good content. It was a good trip, but I just like being back home. I slept so well last night. Every time, usually in the past, historically, when I travel halfway around the world, you get a bunch of jet lag when you're in like a completely different time zone. That's like 8, 12, however many hours off, right? Because your body clock needs time to reset. So coming back though, I was expecting like, oh, maybe the first night back home, after having been away for like a week and a half, I would have like a little bit of trouble sleeping at night. But I was able to sleep like 6-ish hours on the flight back. The flight touched down in San Francisco at around 12 noon. And then I had to, then obviously took another short flight from San Francisco to LA, and that was like a 3 p.m. flight. So I got back to the house around like 4 o'clock, 4:30 in the afternoon, and I was feeling so lazy for not having done any exercise while I was over there that I went to the gym at like 4:35 p.m. yesterday, and not to do any serious weightlifting, not to like go heavy or anything, just to get some exercise in, just do some random exercises, just to like move a little bit. It wasn't like a proper gym session. And I didn't want to have any pre-workout or any caffeine because like if I'm not going to be lifting heavy, I don't really want to take any caffeine, and that wasn't the point of that gym session. It was just to like move my body. It was literally just to move my body. And got home after that, had an early dinner, and I wasn't sleepy during the day. So I'm thinking, okay, I've been up for like, a good number of hours, because when I was sleeping on a plane, when I woke up from the nap on the plane, it would have been the equivalent of like, I don't know, 8 a.m. On the West Coast. So I was like, I should probably just be naturally sleepy. So I ended up not taking any melatonin or any sleeping pills or anything like that. And I would just be like, well, let's just go to bed at the normal time. And if I couldn't get to sleep or whatever, then I'll like take some melatonin or some Benadryl or whatever. Went to bed at like 11 p.m.-ish, the normal time. When I woke up, it was 9:30. I slept so well in my bed. I changed the bed sheets. You know that feeling like when you change your bed sheets, like fresh bed sheets just feel nice to sleep in. So like I also changed the bed sheets before I went to bed that night. And I slept, and I was like, and I woke up and I was like, oh, that was such a good sleep. I didn't wake up at all during the night. The temperature was like perfect. I cranked the window open a little bit. I had my earplugs in. It just felt like when I woke up, it just felt like, wow, that was such a good sleep. So I've gotten my mattress and bedding and everything to be like, to the point where I sleep very well at home. A lot of people, they say, oh, I sleep so much better when I'm at a hotel. And I used to be like that. And I had spent some time like years ago figuring out, how do I make it so that I sleep well at home, where I sleep, 95% of the time. So yeah. I slept so well. I woke up. I had an appointment with my proctologist at 10:30. So otherwise I would have slept in. I just would have kept sleeping. And God knows how many hours I would have slept in. But I got out of the bed at 9:30, had some breakfast, went to the proctologist. Everything's fine. Just another kind of checkup. And then I went to the gym today. So yeah. So I'm glad to be back home in my own bed where I sleep very, very well. And I hope to have more things. So I actually have so many things I want to talk about that I think I have to like pace myself a little bit. So there is the trip insurance. I want to talk about that because I think that's important. These new cruises that have been announced, and obviously there'll be more new cruises to be announced for like 2025 now that we're wrapping up 2024. I want to talk about the launch of the Patreon. I want to talk more about the skincare brand as we get closer to like the public launch. I'm still doing content creation. I'm not necessarily going to talk about like porn on here, but like I think like the business side of it and like what life is as a quote unquote full-time content creator is actually quite interesting. And I feel like I had some misconceptions about people doing content full time, especially NSFW type content. That now that I'm doing it, I'm like, wow, I have a different appreciation for it. So there's so many things I want to talk about, which is why you should subscribe and like the podcast or the video. Stay tuned, and I have lots and lots more content for all of you. But that is it for today, and until next time, bye, y'all.